She filed to upgrade. Called my garage work worthless. I signed everything without a fight. Months later, she discovered I'd sold my worthless patent for $85 million. Her lawyer turned white first. Then she did. Should have asked questions. Rhonda. My name is Dalton Briggs. I'm 47 years old, and I've been an engineer for 23 years. Married for 19 of those years to a woman who once told me I had kind eyes and steady hands. Rhonda used to say those were the things that mattered. Turns out, they didn't matter as much as a premium gym membership and a man who drove a car with his last name on the dealership. The morning she served me papers, I was drinking coffee at her kitchen table. Same spot I'd sat for nearly 2 decades. Same chipped mug with a faded college logo. Same view of the backyard where I'd build a workshop that Rhonda called Dalton's Cave of Mediocrity whenever her book club friends asked about it. She walked in wearing a gray dress I'd never seen before. Heels that made her 3 inches taller. Hair done up like she had somewhere important to be. I'm filing to upgrade, Rhonda said, sliding a manila folder across the table. Not, I want a divorce. Not, we need to talk. Upgrade. Like I was outdated software she was uninstalling. I didn't say anything at first. Just looked at the papers, noticed her signature already on the bottom line, pen sitting on top like an invitation. You can keep the house, she continued, pouring herself lemon water from the pitcher she always kept in the fridge. I'll take the condo downtown and the Lexus. Clean break. No drama. Clean break. 19 years, 3 miscarriages, and a shared life reduced to a transaction. Whatever you need, Rhonda, I said, picking up the pen. She blinked. I could tell I'd thrown her off script. She'd expected a fight, maybe tears, definitely questions. Instead, I signed my name on every line that needed signing, dated it, and slid the folder back across the table. That's it, she asked. That's it, Dalton replied. She stood there for a moment longer, like she was waiting for me to break down. When I didn't, she picked up the folder, grabbed her purse, and walked toward the door. The dog, Murphy, followed her to the threshold. She didn't even glance down at him, just opened the door and left. Soft click. No slam. No final words. I sat there staring at my coffee. It had gone cold. That night, I found one of her wine glasses still in the dishwasher. Lipstick stain on the rim. Same shade she'd worn that morning. I thought about the receipts I found 6 months earlier. Charges at restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel rooms booked on weekends when she said she was at conferences. His name was Clayton Sutton. I never met him, but I knew enough. Investment advisor. Drove a Mercedes. Had a smile that sold trust funds and empty promises. I didn't confront her back then. Didn't scream or throw anything. I just went out to the workshop, closed the door, and got back to work on the one thing she never bothered to understand. The prototype sitting on my workbench. Compact, unassuming, revolutionary. She called it my retirement fantasy. Told her friends I was wasting time on something that would never matter. But the blueprints were finished. The trust was ironclad. And my attorney, a former military man with a sharp mind and sharper instincts, had made sure every asset was protected. I didn't leave Rhonda because she cheated. I left because I'd already been gone for years. She just didn't notice until it was too late. Rhonda used to call it Dalton's junkyard. My workshop. The place where I spent nights and weekends for the past 11 years. She never stepped foot inside. Not once. Said it smelled like burnt metal and broken dreams. Truth was, it smelled like progress. The workshop sat behind our house, converted from an old storage shed I'd renovated myself back in 2014. Insulated walls, proper ventilation, workbenches I'd built by hand. Nothing fancy, but functional. Everything I needed. The device sitting on the center bench didn't look like much. About the size of a microwave, gray polymer casing, handful of indicator lights on the front panel. But inside that unassuming box was something that would change transplant medicine forever. A biocompatible polymer matrix capable of 3D printing functional human organs. I'd started working on it during my master's program, back when Rhonda still pretended to care about my research. The concept was simple. Create a material that could replicate human tissue at the cellular level, print it layer by layer, integrate it with a patient's existing biology without rejection. Simple concept. 15 years of execution. The breakthrough came 3 years ago. I'd been testing polymer combinations, trying to find the right balance of flexibility and structural integrity. Failed over 200 times. Rhonda was at a charity gala that night, probably already meeting Clayton for the first time, while I was in the workshop running tests on batch 247. It worked. The sample tissue integrated with the control cells. No rejection. No degradation. Perfect compatibility. I sat there staring at the microscope screen for an hour, not believing what I was seeing. That's when I called my contact in Seattle, a guy named Vincent Aldridge. We'd met at a biomedical engineering conference years back, stayed in touch through emails. He ran a venture capital firm specializing in medical technology. Quiet guy, never pushy, just asked questions and listened. Vincent, I'd said when he answered, I need to talk to you about something. In person. When? Vincent had asked. Soon as possible. He flew out 2 weeks later. Looked at my data, examined the prototype, asked questions for 3 hours straight. Then he sat back, folded his hands, and said 5 words that changed everything. How much do you need? Over the next 3 years, Vincent funneled funding through a private trust. Nothing flashy. No press releases. Just steady investment in research, materials, testing. He believed in the work when nobody else did. Especially not Rhonda. She'd walk past the workshop with her wine glass, laughing on the phone with her sister. Dalton's still playing scientist, she'd say. Maybe one day he'll build something that actually matters. I never corrected her. Never told her about the patents I'd filed. Never mentioned the trust I'd set up in Nevada, separate from marital assets. Never explained that Vincent's firm had already lined up 3 major hospital networks interested in licensing the technology. Let her think I was wasting time. Meanwhile, I was building an empire she'd never see coming. The night she left, I stood in the workshop, hand resting on the prototype. Murphy sat at my feet, head tilted like he was trying to understand. She has no idea, buddy, Dalton said to the dog. Murphy's tail wagged once. I pulled out my phone, sent Vincent a text. Timeline just accelerated. She's gone. Let's move forward. His response came 30 seconds later. I'll make the calls. Get ready. I looked around the workshop. Years of work. Thousands of hours. A marriage that died while I was busy creating something that would save lives. Rhonda wanted an upgrade. She was about to find out what a real upgrade looked like. Kyle Brennan had been my friend for 12 years. We'd met at a medical device expo in Chicago back in 2013, bonded over terrible conference coffee, and shared frustrations about patent law. He was a consultant, specialized in intellectual property strategy for biotech startups. Smart guy. Always knew the right people to talk to. I trusted him with everything. Showed him my early prototypes, shared my research data, asked his advice on patent filings. He'd help me navigate the legal maze of protecting my polymer designs. What I didn't know was that Kyle had been feeding information to Rhonda for the past 8 months. I found out 3 days after she left. I'd installed security cameras in the workshop 6 months earlier, not because I didn't trust Rhonda, but because the equipment was worth a small fortune. Motion activated, cloud storage, the works. I was reviewing footage, looking for a misplaced calibration tool, when I saw it. Kyle entering the workshop at 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon. I'd been at a meeting with a hospital administrator. Rhonda had let him in. The video showed Kyle photographing my workbench, my computer screen, my filing cabinet. Methodical. Professional. He spent 40 minutes documenting everything. I sat there watching the footage 3 times, making sure I wasn't misunderstanding what I was seeing. Then I checked the timestamps. Kyle had visited the workshop 7 times over the past 6 months. Always when I wasn't home. Always let in by Rhonda. I pulled up my email archive, searched for Kyle's name. Found a thread from 4 months ago where he'd asked detailed questions about my polymer composition. Questions that seemed innocent at the time. Now they look like reconnaissance. My phone rang. Vincent calling. We have a problem, Vincent said, his voice tight. Someone's been shopping your technology to competitors. Detailed specs. Recent test data. Kyle Brennan, Dalton said. You know, Vincent asked. Just figure it out. He's been accessing my workshop. Rhonda's been helping him. Silence on the other end. Then Vincent spoke, his tone cold and calculated. Don't confront him. Don't let him know you know. We're going to need evidence for the lawsuit. Can you secure your workshop? Vincent asked. Already done. Cameras caught everything. Good. Send me the footage. I'll have our attorneys start building a case. And Dalton, change all your access codes. Move the real prototype somewhere safe. I'd already moved it. The device sitting on my workbench now was a dummy unit. Looked identical, but the internal components were worthless knockoffs. The real prototype was in a climate-controlled storage unit across town, registered under the trust's name. Way ahead of you, I said. That's why we're going to win, Vincent replied. After we hung up, I sat in the workshop, staring at the dummy prototype. Kyle thought he was stealing cutting-edge technology. He was actually stealing garbage. But the betrayal still stung. 12 years of friendship, reduced to corporate espionage, and a woman who never loved me enough to protect what I'd built. I opened my laptop, drafted an email to Kyle, kept it friendly, casual, asked if he wanted to meet for coffee next week to discuss some exciting developments with the project. He responded within an hour. Absolutely. Looking forward to it. I smiled. So was I. The break-in happened on a Thursday night. I was at a medical conference in Phoenix, scheduled to present a paper on tissue integration protocols. Rhonda knew I'd be gone for 3 days. So did Kyle. The security system alerted me at 11:43 p.m. Motion detected in the workshop. Camera feed showed 2 figures in dark clothing, faces covered, using a crowbar on the side door. I watched from my hotel room as they moved through the space. One of them went straight for the workbench. The other started rifling through file cabinets. Professional. They knew exactly what they were looking for. The one at the workbench pulled out a hammer, raised it over the prototype. I didn't panic, just watched. The hammer came down. The casing shattered. Components scattered across the floor. The second intruder grabbed my laptop, unplugged my external hard drives, swept everything into a bag. They were in and out in 8 minutes. I called Vincent immediately. They just hit the workshop, Dalton said. The real prototype? Vincent asked, alert despite the late hour. Safe in storage. They destroyed the dummy. Perfect. Call the police. File a report. Make it look like you're devastated. I called 911, reported the break-in, flew home the next morning. 2 detectives met me at the house, took statements, photographed the damage, collected what little evidence the intruders had left behind. Any idea who might want to do this? The younger detective asked me. No idea, I said, playing the confused victim. I'm just an engineer. I don't have enemies. But I did have enemies. And I had video footage of exactly who they were. After the police left, I uploaded the security footage to an encrypted server, sent the link to Vincent and my attorney. The video was crystal clear. The intruders had taken off their masks inside the workshop, probably thinking the cameras weren't working. One of them was Kyle's younger brother, Derek. The other was a guy I didn't recognize, but Vincent's security team identified him within 2 hours. Former military, now working private security. His employment records showed recent payments from a shell company registered to Clayton Sutton. All the pieces fell into place. Rhonda had told Clayton about my work. Clayton had brought in Kyle. Kyle had recruited his brother and hired Muscle to destroy the evidence. They thought they were protecting Clayton's investment, making sure I couldn't profit from technology that might threaten his financial position with Rhonda. What they'd actually done was commit multiple felonies on camera. Do we press charges now? I asked Vincent during our call that evening. Not yet, Vincent said. Let them think they won. Let them think you're broken. We're going to let this play out, and when the time's right, we'll bury all of them. I looked at the destroyed, dummy prototype, pieces scattered across my workshop floor. I can wait, Dalton said. I know you can. That's why you're going to win. I spent the next 2 days cleaning up the workshop, making it look like I was trying to salvage the project. Posted a few vague, defeated-sounding updates on my personal blog about setbacks and challenges. Kyle called to offer his condolences. I heard about the break-in, man. That's terrible. Is there anything I can do to help? No, I said, keeping my voice flat. I think I'm done. The project's dead. Don't say that. You can rebuild. Maybe. I need some time to think. After he hung up, I texted Vincent. Hook, line, and sinker. His response. Now we wait for them to celebrate. 3 weeks after the break-in, Vincent called with news. Biomedical Solutions wants to meet, Vincent said. They've been following your patent filings. They're interested in acquiring the technology outright. How interested? Dalton asked. Very. They're sending their acquisition team next week. Be ready to negotiate. I'd heard of Biomedical Solutions. Major player in the organ transplant field. Contracts with hospitals across the country. Revenue in the billions. If they wanted my technology, it meant I'd built something truly valuable. The meeting took place in a conference room at Vincent's office in Seattle. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound. 3 executives in expensive suits sitting across from me and Vincent. The lead negotiator, a woman named Patricia Reynolds, opened a leather portfolio and got straight to business. Mr. Briggs, your biocompatible polymer represents a genuine breakthrough in transplant medicine. We've reviewed your patents, examined your test data, consulted with our medical advisors. We'd like to acquire full rights to the technology. I'm listening, I said. Patricia slid a document across the table. Our initial offer: exclusive licensing with acquisition option or direct purchase. Both options include performance bonuses tied to successful implementation. I picked up the document, scanned the numbers. The acquisition price sat at the bottom of page 3. $85 million, plus royalties, plus performance incentives that could push it over $100 million. I kept my face neutral. Didn't smile, didn't react. Just set the document down and looked at Patricia. What's your timeline for implementation? Dalton asked her. 18 months for FDA approval process, assuming your test data holds up. Another 6 months for production setup. We'd want you on retainer as a technical consultant through the first phase. And the technology would be used exclusively for medical applications. No defense contracts, no private sector misuse. Patricia nodded. Strictly medical. Our contracts are with hospital networks and transplant centers. That's our core business. I looked at Vincent. He gave a slight nod. Give me 72 hours to review with my attorney, I said. If the terms hold up, we have a deal. Patricia smiled. We'll await your response. After they left, Vincent poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed me one. $85 million, Vincent said. Not bad for a workshop project. It was never just a workshop project, I replied. I know. That's why I invested. Rhonda never understood what she was walking away from. I thought about that. About the years I'd spent building something meaningful while my marriage dissolved. About Rhonda planning her upgrade with Clayton, counting assets, dividing property, never once asking about the real value sitting in my workshop. She'll find out soon enough, Dalton said. When do you want to make it public? Vincent asked me. After the papers are signed. After the money's transferred. After there's nothing she can do to claim a piece of it. Vincent raised his glass. To patience. We drank. 3 days later, after my attorney confirmed every clause was airtight, I signed the acquisition agreement. The money hit the trust account 48 hours after that. $85 million. Secured, protected, completely separate from any marital claims. I was standing in my workshop when the transfer notification came through. Same space where I'd spent 11 years building, testing, failing, succeeding. Murphy sat at my feet, tail wagging. We did it, buddy, I said to the dog. I didn't celebrate, didn't call anyone, just stood there in the quiet, feeling the weight of everything I'd accomplished finally settling into reality. Rhonda had won an upgrade. She'd gotten Clayton's leased lifestyle and empty promises. I'd gotten freedom and vindication. The publicity embargo would last 6 months. Standard practice for acquisitions of this size. Biomedical Solutions wanted time to secure their supply chain and finalize FDA paperwork before going public. 6 months. That's how long Rhonda had before her world turned upside down. I could wait. I kept my life exactly the same. Same truck, same house, same routine. Mowed the lawn every Saturday morning. Took Murphy for walks. Bought coffee at the same diner I'd been going to for years. Nothing changed on the outside because I wanted it that way. Rhonda moved into her downtown condo with Clayton. I saw the Instagram posts. Her feed became a highlight reel of upgraded living. Rooftop brunches, wine tastings, weekend trips to Napa Valley. One post showed her holding a champagne glass, caption reading, "Finally living the life I deserve." Clayton stood behind her, hand on her shoulder, smiling that investment advisor smile. I scrolled past without reacting. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into them at a farmer's market downtown. I was buying vegetables for dinner. They were browsing artisanal cheese like it was performance art. Rhonda saw me first. Her smile faltered for half a second before snapping back into place. "Dalton," she said, her voice overly cheerful. "How are you?" "Good," I said, keeping it simple. "You?" "Wonderful. We just got back from Sonoma." Clayton surprised me with a wine country getaway. Clayton extended his hand. I shook it. Firm grip, practice confidence. Good to see you, Dalton, Clayton said to me. Rhonda's told me a lot about you. I'm sure she has, I replied. An awkward pause settled between us. Rhonda adjusted her sunglasses, the designer kind that cost more than my monthly grocery bill. Still working on your little project? She asked, the condescension barely hidden. Not anymore, I said. Had some setbacks. Took a break from it. Her expression shifted to something that looked like vindication. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But honestly, maybe it's for the best. You can focus on other things now. Maybe, Dalton said. Clayton checked his watch. We should get going, babe. Reservations at noon. They walked away hand in hand. Rhonda glanced back once, that same superior smile on her face. The look that said she'd made the right choice, upgraded successfully, left the boring engineer behind. I bought my vegetables and went home. That evening, I got a text from Kyle. First time he'd reached out since the break-in. Hey man, heard you gave up on the polymer project. Probably smart. These things rarely pan out. Want to grab coffee sometime? I stared at the message for a long moment. Kyle thought he'd won. Thought the sabotage had worked. Thought I was defeated. Sure, I texted back. Let's catch up soon. I set my phone down, looked at Murphy sleeping on his bed. For months until the embargo lifted. For months until the acquisition went public. For months until everyone who dismissed me, betrayed me, underestimated me, would see exactly what I'd built. I could be patient a little longer. The divorce attorney had called that morning. Final paperwork was processed. Rhonda got the condo, the Lexus, and half the contents of our joint savings account. About $40,000 total. I'd signed everything without argument. Let her think she'd gotten a fair split. She had no idea the real assets were sitting in a trust she didn't know existed, protected by legal structures she'd never thought to question. My attorney had asked if I wanted to contest anything. I told him no. Let her have it all. It was pocket change compared to what was coming. Some battles you win by not fighting. You win by being smarter, more patient, more strategic. Rhonda thought she'd won because she'd gotten what she asked for. I'd won because she'd never known what to ask for. 6 months passed like a hell breath. Then the embargo lifted. The press release went out on a Tuesday morning. Biomedical Solutions announced the acquisition of revolutionary biocompatible polymer technology for organ transplant applications from independent researcher Dalton Briggs. The headline hit every major medical journal and tech news site within an hour. Breakthrough in transplant medicine. Engineers garage invention cells for $85 million. Rhonda and Clayton were at brunch when her phone lit up. Some upscale place downtown with bottomless mimosas and overpriced eggs. She posted a story that morning. Tuesday vibes with my love. Her friend Sarah sent the link. OMG, isn't this your ex? Rhonda opened the article. Saw my photo. Same flannel shirt she used to mock. Same workshop she called a junkyard. The article detailed everything. The polymer technology. The 11 years of development. The hospital networks already lined up for implementation. The $85 million acquisition price. Her mimosa glass slipped from her fingers, shattered against the marble floor. Champagne and orange juice spread across white tile. The entire restaurant turned to look. Clayton leaned forward, reading over her shoulder. His face went pale. Wait, Clayton said to her. That's your ex-husband? The guy with the garage? Rhonda couldn't speak. Just stared at the screen, scrolling through the article, seeing the numbers repeat themselves. $85 million. The article included a quote from me. This technology represents years of patient work and dedication. I'm grateful to everyone who believed in this project when others dismissed it. Others dismissed it. She knew that was aimed at her. Clayton kept reading, his voice rising with each word. It says here he held the patent in a private trust. That means, Rhonda, that means this happened during your marriage, and you didn't get any of it. She finally looked up at him, her eyes wide, unfocused. He never said anything, Rhonda whispered. He signed everything. He agreed to everything. Because he already had $85 million protected. Clayton shouted, then caught himself, lowering his voice as people stared. How did you not know about this? I didn't. He never told me it was real. It was just wires and experiments. It wasn't supposed to actually work. Clayton sat back, running his hands through his hair. Your lawyer. Did your lawyer ask about intellectual property during the divorce? Rhonda's hand shook as she pulled up her lawyer's contact. Dialed. Robert answered on the third ring. Robert, did you see the news? Rhonda asked him, her voice breaking. I did, Robert said, his tone grim. We need to talk. Can you come to my office? Tell me now. Can we contest it? Can we get a share? Silence on the other end. Then Robert spoke slowly, carefully. Rhonda, you signed a no-contest clause. You waived any claim to future earnings from unlisted assets. The trust was registered before the divorce was filed. The patent was filed separately from marital assets. It's completely legal and completely protected. But $85 million, Robert. I understand. But unless he listed that technology as a marital asset during disclosure, which he clearly didn't, you have zero legal claim. He played this perfectly. I'm sorry. The line went dead. Rhonda sat frozen, phone in hand, the reality crashing over her like a wave. She'd walked away thinking she'd gotten the better deal. The condo, the car, the freedom. He'd let her take it all because it was nothing compared to what he protected. Clayton stood up. I need some air. Don't leave, Rhonda said, reaching for his hand. He pulled away. I need to think. This is a lot. He walked out of the restaurant without looking back. Rhonda sat alone at the table, surrounded by broken glass and spilled champagne, while the other diners whispered and stared. Her phone buzzed. Another message from Sarah. Girl, you fumbled the bag so hard. She wanted to scream, wanted to cry, wanted to rewind 6 months and ask one simple question. But it was too late. By that evening, the story had gone viral. Local news picked it up. Business journals ran features. Someone on Reddit started a thread titled Woman Divorces Engineer Husband. Finds out later he sold patent for $85 million. The thread had 18,000 upvotes. Rhonda's Instagram became a battlefield. Comments flooded in under her recent posts. Bet you regret that upgrade now. He's probably laughing all the way to the bank. Imagine leaving a genius for a finance bro. She deleted the comments. Then more came. She turned off commenting entirely. Then the messages started. Old friends, distant relatives, people she barely knew, all reaching out with the same fake concern that barely masked their schadenfreude. Hey, saw the news about Dalton. That's crazy. How are you doing? She didn't respond to any of them. Clayton texted around midnight. Need some space to process this. Staying at my place tonight. That was 3 nights ago. He hadn't come back. Kyle called me the day after the news broke. His voice was tight, nervous. Dalton, man, I just saw the news. Congratulations. That's incredible. I had no idea you were that close to a breakthrough, Kyle said to me. Thanks, Kyle, I said, keeping my tone neutral. It all came together. Listen, about that break-in at your workshop, do the police have any leads? Because if someone was trying to steal your technology, that's serious. Actually, they do have leads, I said. Very clear leads. Silence on the other end. The security footage was pretty comprehensive, I continued. Showed everything. Who came in, what they took, who they were working for. My attorney's been building a case. I could hear Kyle breathing, trying to figure out what I knew. That's good, Kyle finally said. Justice, right? Exactly. Justice. Kyle, I should go. Got a lot of calls to return. Sure, yeah, of course. Congratulations again. After I hung up, Vincent called. How's it feel? Vincent asked me. Quiet, I said. Surprisingly quiet. The lawyers are ready when you are. We have enough evidence to prosecute Kyle, his brother, and anyone else involved in the break-in and corporate espionage. Not yet, Dalton said. Let them sweat a little longer. And Rhonda. I looked out the window. Same view I'd had for years. Same house, same street, same life. Everything the same except now I had $85 million and complete freedom. Rhonda made her choice, I said. She's living with it. That night, I took Murphy for a walk around the neighborhood. Same route we'd been taking for years. Past Rhonda's old friend, Janet, watering her garden. She waved me over. Dalton, I saw the news. That's amazing. Janet said to me, genuine happiness in her voice. Thanks, Janet. I always knew you were working on something special. Rhonda used to complain about you spending so much time in that workshop, but I told her, let the man work. Guess I was right. I smiled. Guess so. She must be kicking herself now. Janet continued. unable to help herself. I wouldn't know. We don't talk. Well, good for you. You deserve this. You really do. I walk home feeling lighter than I had in years. Not because of the money, because I'd proven something to myself. That patience, dedication, and quiet confidence could triumph over dismissiveness and betrayal. My phone buzzed. Message from an unknown number. Dalton, it's Rhonda. Can we talk? Please. Just 5 minutes. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I deleted it without responding. 2 weeks after the news broke, Vincent and I met with federal prosecutors. We laid out everything. The security footage of Kyle and his brother breaking into my workshop. The documentation of stolen intellectual property. The financial trail connecting the Sabotage to Clayton Sutton's shell companies. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Diana Chun, reviewed the evidence with clinical precision. This is solid, Diana said to us. Corporate espionage, breaking and entering, destruction of property, conspiracy. We can make all of this stick. What's the timeline? Vincent asked her. Arraignments within 30 days. Trial probably 6 months out. But honestly, with this evidence, I'd be surprised if they don't take a plea deal. 3 weeks later, Kyle was arrested at his office. His brother Derek got picked up the same afternoon. The contractor Clayton had hired turned himself in after his attorneys saw the evidence. The news made local headlines. Corporate espionage case linked to $85 million patent theft attempt. Kyle's attorney reached out within 48 hours, requesting a meeting to discuss terms. I let Vincent handle it. He called me afterward. Kyle wants to settle, Vincent said. Avoid trial. Make restitution. Accept probation. What did you tell him? Dalton asked. I told him we consider it if he provided testimony against everyone else involved, including Clayton's role in financing the operation. And he agreed. He's going to cooperate fully. Clayton was arrested a week later, charged as an accessory to corporate espionage and conspiracy. His investment firm immediately suspended him pending investigation. Rhonda's social media went completely dark after that. No posts, no stories, no comments. She'd gone underground. I didn't feel victorious watching it all unfold. Just tired. Tired of the betrayal. Tired of the legal process. Tired of thinking about people who tried to destroy what I'd built. But I saw it through. Testified when needed. Provided documentation when requested. Made sure everyone involved faced consequences. The day Kyle's plea deal was finalized, I was in my workshop, packing equipment. I decided to sell the house, move somewhere new, start fresh. Murphy watched me from his bed, head tilted. Time for a change, buddy, I said to the dog. My phone buzzed. Message from Vincent. It's done. Kyle gets 3 years probation, community service, and permanent record. His brother gets 18 months. Clayton's trial is set for next spring, but his attorney's already talking plea. I typed back, good. Thanks for everything. Thank you for trusting me. Where are you headed next? I looked around the workshop one last time. This space had been my sanctuary, my laboratory, my escape. But it was also a reminder of everything I'd lost while building something great. Somewhere quiet. I replied. Somewhere with an ocean view. 18 months later, I was sitting on the deck of a small house overlooking the Pacific. Not some mansion in Malibu. Just a clean, weathered cottage in Oregon with a view that stretched to the horizon. Murphy lay at my feet, gray around his muzzle now, but content. The air smelled like salt and cedar. Coffee tasted better here. Life moved slower. Biomedical Solutions had successfully completed their first clinical trials. My polymer technology was saving lives. Real people getting real organs that their bodies didn't reject. The royalty checks came in quarterly. More money than I'd ever spent. I donated $30 million to cancer research in children's hospitals. Set up scholarships for engineering students. Funded 3 startup medical technology companies run by people who reminded me of my younger self. The money felt better going out than it ever felt coming in. A young woman from the local university had come by that morning to interview me for a documentary about innovation. She'd asked the question everyone eventually asked. Did it feel good? Proving everyone wrong, she'd asked me. I'd thought about it for a long moment, watching a seagull dive for fish in the surf. I wasn't trying to prove anyone wrong, Dalton had said. I was proving myself right. There's a difference. She nodded, written that down, then asked, do you have any regrets? Just one. I wish I'd left sooner. Saved myself some years of being dismissed by someone who never valued what I was building. What about your ex-wife? Do you ever hear from her? No, and that's how I prefer it. After she left, I sat alone on the deck, coffee cooling in my hand. I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that Rhonda and Clayton had split. He'd moved to Texas after his plea deal, trying to rebuild his reputation. She'd moved back in with her sister, working some administrative job, living quietly. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing it. Didn't feel anything, really. She was a chapter I'd closed. My phone rang. Vincent calling. How's retirement? Vincent asked me. Peaceful. You should try it. Maybe someday. Listen, there's a researcher in Boston working on synthetic bone tissue. Brilliant work, needs funding. Thought you might be interested. Send me the details. I'll take a look. After we hung up, I stood, stretched, walked down to the beach. Murphy followed slowly, his arthritis slowing him down, but not stopping him. The waves rolled in, steady and inevitable, erasing footprints like they'd never existed. I'd spent 19 years married to someone who'd never seen my value. Spent 11 years building something she dismissed as a waste of time. Spent 6 months watching her realize what she'd lost. And now I was here. Free. Successful. At peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so fulfilling that the people who left it become irrelevant to the outcome. I threw a piece of driftwood into the surf. Murphy watched it disappear into the waves, tail wagging once. Good boy, I said. We turned and walked back toward the house, leaving the ocean to erase our footprints behind us.